We are live in these XO sessions today. Let's wait for a second and then we start. How are you today, Lynn?
Doing great. Thank you so much.
Wait a second, we are starting, just checking here in the LinkedIn, and then we start. Oh, this is the seconds. I was thinking that 35, 40 and was growing is the seconds here. I'm going to check the LinkedIn in a few minutes, but everything is working, so we are good to go. All right.
Great.
So, hello everyone. I hope you are having a great week. Welcome to these XO executive sessions. Today we are launching a new kind of sessions that will be a short session with Lynn explaining about CX ROI, and that's the beginning of a series of videos that we are going to do here live in the LinkedIn to explain about the details covering CX ROI. So we'll have some sessions that will be announced, I think, in next week or the following week. So stay tuned in this episode in the LinkedIn. The ECXO is an open access network for business, okay, in CX. And we invite you all to come on board. You can come later after you take a look in Lynn talking with us today. My name is Ricardo. I am the MD of eGlobalis, and also I am the co-founder with many ambassadors for the European Customer Experience Organization. And today we are super delighted to have Lynn with us, Lynn Hunsaker, the CCO of Clear Action Continuum. And she's going to be talking about mastering the maze of CX metrics and money. All right, so give me just a second, Lynn, and we kick off. Let me add your presentation here. Now the shows with Lynn. Okay, I'm going to disappear here for some time. Oh, one last thing. Please just drop your questions here and we are going to be answered as we go or in the end. Okay, we have 20 minutes for Lynn and we're going to wait for your questions to answer, trying to answer the majority.
It's my pleasure to talk about mastering the maze of customer experience metrics and money. You know, it is a maze because there's so many different kinds of metrics, and we're always trying to find out which ones are driving revenue the most because that's what's expected of us. But I'm going to show you some little known tricks to the trade and real levers for unblocking the revenue roadblocks and really leveraging a tremendous amount of growth. So first of all, let's just level set about our definition of what is customer experience. You know, it's what the customer experiences, whereas customer experience management is how we are managing that. So what is a customer experience? Ultimately, it's what do they get from all the things that they do with you. They're giving you value, you're giving them value, and it's a good experience when it meets or exceeds their expectations. So there's really two components to it. We need to understand what are their expectations. We need to proactively manage their expectations, and we need to meet or exceed those expectations. But the matching of that is actually brand integrity. You promised something, and did they get it 100%? If they didn't, well, then it's a poor experience, and it's not good brand integrity. So customer experience actually has these facets. It's all the touch points plus the behind the scenes things in the customer's experience where they may be consulting different websites, different people, doing different things with your information and with your services and products that are behind the scenes. It's well beyond touch points. It's also the end-to-end journey, which may start quite a ways before they actually contact you or look at your website or anything like that. And it might end long after you've discontinued a product or a service or they've left, they're still having some kind of experience with you. So when we do research about customer experience, it's really important to be capturing all these elements so we fully understand the customer experience. It's cumulative over time. It's not just a moment. You do have micro moments that are so pivotal. We call those moments of truth, but the customer experience itself is very, it adds up over time. What you experienced last year or last week still counts today. And most importantly, whatever your customers are gaining, their prosperity is your prosperity, because that's the source of recommendations. That's the source of their productivity in their life or business, so that they can continue to buy from you and choose you, and so on. So when we have these things in mind, we're thinking more accurately about what the customer experience is. And that's a key to mastering the maze of CX metrics and money. Let's take a deeper look. Well, the flip side of this is customer experience management. And so that's delivering 100% what was promised. And there's two ways that we do that in customer experience management. We're either creating value, designing new things, offering more clear communications and easier ways of getting around all of the things that they need from us. All those things are value creating, but a lot of what we do is actually value rescuing, making up for things that went wrong. Now, value rescuing has two components. Some of it's caused by the customer themselves. They moved, there was a hurricane, not anyone's fault. They made a mistake, they changed their mind. Those are out of our hands. But everything else that the customer calls us about or contacts us, even doing self-service, that we could have prevented, that is money on the table. That's a huge opportunity for CX metrics and money. And we're going to take a deeper look at that as well. Now, the Net Promoter Score is a very popular metric. And when we look at it, it actually has the value creating and the value rescuing right there. The positive word of mouth, how much is that making up for the negative word of mouth? That's what the minus sign means. But because it's a minus sign without any kind of weighting, like 1.3 or 2.4 or whatever, multiplied by either side, it's actually assuming that the emotion and volume of recommendations and the duration of those recommendations is equal to the emotion, volume, and duration of the complaints that people have, that they share with people at parties, on the airplane, or in the hallway at trade shows, and so on. So that's an interesting thing to be thinking about when we're trying to link this to revenue and also show the overall financial impact of our customer experience work. If we're only focusing here on driving the promoters, that's a bit problematic, because we're doing a lot of, we're ignoring quite a lot of activity here in the detractor area. So you could just take all of the things that are growing. How many referrals did you have? How much did that translate into high volume products or high volume purchases, high margin products? You could take all of that, but the problem with that is you have a whole army of marketing and sales and channel partners and so on also doing that. How do you separate the CX work from all of that? You could do a baseline. There's a lot of things that you could try to do, but it gets kind of messy on the growth side. On the cost side, this is actually more clear. We have more clarity on what's going on that is costing us. Some of these things are just a part of doing business, for example, onboarding a customer. But beyond that, there's returns, refunds, remedies, escalations, all things that probably shouldn't be happening at all. And if we could get to the root of that, wouldn't it be great to get all that money back? So you could actually calculate these things and probably pinpoint the reason why a little more clearly. But a huge overlooked opportunity for driving money is using these customer experience insights from our surveys and other aspects of customer voice to be smarter about how we do cost containment. to be smarter about how we re-engineer our organizations or processes, and so on. Because being smart means we're aligned with customers. We're trying to drive that brand integrity, the one-to-one ratio of meeting or exceeding their expectations. And in fact, a lot of the things that we do in cost containment are siloed. A lot of the things we do in this area for managing the customer experience value rescuing, they're siloed. They're not really well informed by the customer insights for prioritization and how to go about getting these pebbles out of customers' shoes is what I call that. And likewise, on the positive side, how much are we using the customer insights from these surveys and other areas of customer voice for informing our expansions into markets, new products, business models, and so on? There's a lot of untapped opportunity right there. And I call this customer experience leadership over and above customer experience management, because this is more proactive and a step above what we've been doing in the past 10, 15 years with customer experience management. So one of the really important things is to understand the difference between a leading indicator and a lagging indicator. A leading indicator is something that happens before the customer sees it. A lagging indicator is something that happened after the customer sees it. So let's take a look. These are the typical types of metrics that we use in business: market share, revenue, profit growth, cumulative average growth rate, things like that. These are the things that our executives are judged by. It's what the media, investors, the board of directors judge the executives and the health of our company on. So they're extremely important metrics. But how we get there, we know, is based on customer behaviors. If the customers are tending to be more satisfied, recommending more, giving you more of their share of purchases, that tends to drive the growth. But actually, we could have horrible or poor performance here and still grow if your company is introducing a lot of new products, or maybe they merged with another company, or they spun off something. You could still have these growth metrics despite poor customer outcomes for a while, not forever. Now, what drives the customer outcomes, if we take it a step further, is the outcomes of our business workflows. So did the customer experience a defect? Was everything timely? Were their requests closed in a satisfactory way from their viewpoint? If these things are good, we can expect that the customer outcomes will follow suit and the growth outcomes will follow suit, despite what other business arrangements are going on in the big picture. So this really is a continuum here when you think about how these are connected. But let's take it another step further, because all of these are actually lagging indicators. We cannot measure them until the customer has actually experienced the defect, the lack of timeliness or good timeliness, and so on. So our customers see these types of metrics at the same time or before we do, and that's why they're lagging indicators. What would be a leading indicator is your competence, your standards being aligned to customers, your quality checking before stuff goes out to customers. Those are mistake proofing your workflows so that we can guarantee no defects, 100% timeliness, 100% good closure. Well, 100% is probably not possible in regular human life, but we should be aiming for that. And the way to do that is to drill down with your CX data to understand exactly where the key drivers are pointing you to the big opportunities to mistake proof what's going to really count as it goes forward in the customer's experience and financial outcomes. So in order to do that, we need to have customer-aligned standards that are informed by our customer experience insights. And that really depends on how you collect, clarify, or analyze the data, communicate, and champion the use of customer experience insights for that mistake proofing. Let's see an example. Here we have a product that's $2,000 each. And say, for example, there's 15 returns a month. So that's $30,000. The credits, the discounts, the incentives to customers all adds up to maybe $26,000. You could say that's the equivalent of 13 products. Maybe the technology for all that service is $4,000. And maybe there's 40 customers a month that go elsewhere. They decide to do something else besides buy from you again. So altogether, that's $140,000 a month, every month, for problems, the things that we might be able to prevent. And if you add that up to 12 months, it's $1.68 million a year. So trust my math. I've done the calculations and double-checked my work. The actual pennies in here don't matter. You'll see that it's going to add up to 9,700% ROI. So in serving this issue that is causing these returns and stuff, we're finding that the average salary of the people working in it is $43 an hour, which is $90,000 a year. It only is taking about 20 hours a week for this particular issue. Doesn't sound like a very big issue, but let's see what actually happens. There's other people involved who have to process the resolutions, emails, and so on, with people over in finance that need to address things to help those resolutions. So altogether, this issue is costing $54,000 a year, but $1.68 million in all the remedies. Okay. Now let's take a look at what it would cost to solve this issue. Say it's going to take 2 or 3 people, someone in CX, a couple people in engineering, a certain amount of hours per week to work on it, and that adds up to 30 hours for all those people. It's going to take about 9 months to resolve it. It's not really a quick win, but in 9 months, they could actually resolve this issue. It's only going to take $50,000 to do that, and you would say, well, looking at this, it's hardly worth it. It's almost a wash. It's just a cost of doing business. But when we add up all of these remedies, it makes a huge difference, because it's actually 1.73 million, this 54K plus the 1.68, going every year kind of down the drain for that one issue. You could solve it with a one-time cost, $50,000, and that frees up $1.73 million next year, the year after, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and so on. This is available for growth. That's what I call a customer experience annuity, because it's actually available every year without end, just like a financial annuity. Now, one of the things that is so important is to look at customer experience root causes. What are the root causes of those pebbles? What's really driving what? And that's the theme that we've been covering. So customer experience inspired growth means that we're using customer experience insights to help make things right the first time. And that frees up resources, which then makes it easier to acquire our customers and expand our margin. Obviously, costs are lower, so margin goes higher. Customer service is less required because things were right the first time. We weren't causing those issues, and customers didn't need to contact us, right? So that really saves a lot. That helps us to retain customers too, because they didn't have a pebble in their shoes. There was no reason for them to get dissatisfied or look elsewhere, to be tempted by your competitors. So all of this leads to more positive word of mouth. If you follow the green lines, we should talk about the blue lines first, the green lines. Positive word of mouth, longer tenure, of course, that drives more recurring revenue, expanded purchases and referrals. And so instead of just pushing at the top, which most customer experience advice is, here's what you can do to expand the referrals. Here's some things you can expand purchases. Well, that's just pushing at the top, but you've got all of this drag down here that isn't being addressed. So the real smart way to do the customer experience work is to be driving a customer lifetime value mindset, using customer insights for every single growth endeavor across the company. So helping to make friends with all those people, be an ally with them, help them see how they can do things. You have to really champion it, not just rely on, here's the data, self-serve yourself. It's not likely to happen. Ensuring realistic expectations throughout all of acquisition and engagement. So I address all of these types of things in what I call a CX Leader Mastermind, which we won't talk about right now, but glad to talk with you offline about that in conjunction with ECXO. So just a couple more points. When you direct your employees to these issues of the costs, these unnecessary costs, people can see ways that they can align to their internal customers and to external customers. You could make this a contest. We did this where every quarter people could self-report what they were doing to align to customers. And then we had a panel of judges that would take a look at that and decide, you get 75 points, you get 85 points or whatever. And there were comments and there was a threshold. And so any number of people could be winning those rewards for making a difference for customers. And when we did this type of work through workshops as well as the recognition contest, we found that we had hundreds of achievements every year that were reducing costs for customers, saving them time, and also saving ourselves a lot of costs and time, strengthening relationships with customers, and growing the revenue many more times than we would have had if we were just pushing on the traditional ways of let's expand the purchases or let's get more referrals. So this is really huge in terms of what you can take away. And this is my last point, that when you use this translation box with the types of things that we achieved, just what I was talking about, going through the leading indicators, the lagging indicators, the mistake proofing, the recognition contest, and self-reporting, we found that we could do over 100 achievements like this every year, company-wide. The size of our company was 22,000 employees throughout Asia and Europe and the Americas. And when you help executives see that these things are saving customer time, their prosperity is our prosperity, that translates to sales velocity, shorter sales cycle time, quicker money in the bank. When you're doing things that save your own operational time and resources, that's earning per share, helping your investors have more or more profit sharing. When you're doing these improvements that make a better strategic use of your engineers and so forth, no more troubleshooting, more value creating patents and so on. There's a tremendous amount of gain in cumulative average growth rate, return on assets, customer lifetime value, and so on. So all of these things are actually discussed in masterclasses and masterminds. You can find links at the ECXO website. When you go to news, third-party education, click on all of these. There's a ECXO member web discount that I'll hand the time over to Ricardo to explain to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a question before we advance for showing that.
Yeah.
And here's the question. Just was thinking about how do you adapt the ROI calculation and model for each company?
Yeah.
I mean, every company has a different personality or model.
Right. So ROI is simply what did you have before and what did you have now, divided by what did you have to put in to get it, right? So it really works fine for any kind of situation, government, nonprofit, any sector, any region of the world, any internal customer situation or external customer situation. It's simply what was the gain compared to last time compared to what you had to put in. So return on investment calculation is more stable than you think. But what is really beautiful about that mistake proofing of your processes is anybody can say, here's what our key driver is, or here's what the root cause is. Our root cause is something about competence, or another team may say our root cause is something about cycle time, or our root cause is something about quality checking. So when you're defining what you're doing about that root cause for competence or cycle time or quality checking, We can call those metrics customer focus measures or customer critical factors. Call it something else, something you want, but that's a group of metrics or a group of activity that's really addressing the root cause that can be customized every single group, and that accommodates that is not a one size fits all approach. This is what we did for years, and it worked really well. Those particular ROI root cause metrics, customer focus measures, customer critical factors, those were the basis of the bonus, 80%, only 20% on the survey. That really makes everything better with score begging and real change happening, real movement in your financials.
But the companies oftentimes they have different kinds of metrics, different approach for ROI. Yes, how you would tune that for different companies because it's not one servo. Yes, there are different approaches for that. How you would take those different companies to adapt to their model, what they are looking for, because obviously growing having generation is what we are looking for, but there are different ways of approaching that because you have different metrics. What is your take on that, and what you suggest to people here today to approach today companies?
Yeah, so there's probably about 20 different ways to it's kind of a complex one, but there's probably about 20 different ways to calculate return on investment. And I have a worksheet that shows all those different ways. The example that I put in this presentation showed for a chronic issue coming into service, how would you calculate the return on investment was 9,700%. That can be done for any company. It's not a one size fits all situation. It's adaptable, and it applies to any organization, whether it be government or nonprofit. So probably we need to take that time for anything deeper.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Lynn, before we go, just to people assisting us today, we have here a third-party trainings that Lynn is helping us with, okay? So you can take a look in this Excel page we are adding here for you. Let me see if I added that properly. Yes, I think so. So you can take a look here, all right? And you can see if you can learn with Lynn how we want to learn that more deeply. In the next 2 weeks, we are going to announce 2 other sessions with her in May and June. And next week, we have Paolo Fabricio speaking about, let me see here that I forgot, delving into digital conversations for business survival or in relevance. And Paolo Fabricio will be with us in the 24. Lynn, how do people can find you?
Yeah, well, probably the easiest way is just here on LinkedIn, Lynn Hunsaker, easy. Otherwise, you can email me at lynn.hunsaker@clearaction.com.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. Have a lovely day, and we are going to be back next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Lynn, for your time.
Thank you so much.